Time is 6:30 p.m. Today is Monday, September 26th, and I call to order this meeting of the Goose Creek CISD Board of Trustees. Before proceeding with tonight's agenda, I would like to remind everyone in attendance that this meeting is being recorded through video and audio technologies. Also at this time, I ask everyone to silence or turn off all electrical devices. Thank you very much. Ms. Woods, was this meeting properly posted?
Yes.
And do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Opening exercises, Dr. Duarte.
President Richard, school board members, Mr. O'Brien. The opening exercises for the September 26, 2016 board meeting will be presented by students from Dr. Johnny T. Clark Elementary. We will begin the opening ceremonies with the prayer led by Janice Coffey. Everyone please rise.
Lord God, we thank you for bringing all of us here this evening. We're so thankful for the little ones who are going to be presenting the opening exercises today. We just will be so delighted by what we see, I'm sure, and what we hear, and we just thank you for that opportunity. We thank you for the parents and family members who are here with them as well. We ask that when we go home this evening that you guide us all home safely, protect us from the weather. We ask you also, Lord God, to be with all of the people who were affected by the shootings that went on in Houston this morning. I've heard stories of people who know people who were involved, and so we just ask you, Lord God, to heal those who were wounded and to be with those and comfort those who are touched by this incident in some way. We ask you to guide us with your wisdom this evening. We ask you to help us make wise decisions for our district. We thank you for all the people who work for our district and all the students who are here. We ask you to bless us all as we go through this school year. We ask you also to watch over our country, to watch over our nation's leaders and those who protect us each and every day. We pray in your most holy name. Amen.
The pledges will be led by Parker Llewellyn and Zoe Ayala.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Kindergarten students will be performing exercise routines learned in physical education class to the songs Five Little Monkeys, Where Are You, and See You Later, Alligator. We have Zoe Ayala, Maddox Cerda, Jalen Dye, Cooper Edwards, Valerie Figueroa, Sophia Garza, Landon Hudgens, Faith Jones, Parker Llewellyn, and Rafael Rivera. The students are under the direction of Jaime Lopez, Joe McGrew, and Principal Susan Griffin and Assistant Principal Kim Scheidt.
Little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off and a bump. Called the doctor and the doctor said, no more monkeys.
Make sure you get some space because of our swimming hands.
Where are you?
Here I am.
Are you ready?
You bet.
How you doing?
Better and better.
Give yourself a hand. Where are you?
Here I am.
Are you ready?
You bet.
How you doing?
Better and better.
Give yourself a hand.
Head, shoulders, knees, toes, legs, waist, chin, nose. Head, shoulders, knees, toes, legs, waist, chin, nose.
Can you freeze? Where are you?
Here I am.
Are you ready?
You bet.
How you doing?
Better and better.
Give yourself a hand. Where are you?
Here I am.
Are you ready?
You bet.
How you doing?
Better and better.
Give yourself a hand.
Head, shoulders, knees, toes, legs, waist, chin, nose. Head, shoulders, knees, toes, legs, waist, chin, nose.
Can you freeze? Where are you?
Here I am.
Are you ready?
You bet.
How you doing?
Better and better.
Give yourself a hand. Where are you? Are you ready?
You bet.
How you doing?
Better and better.
Give yourself a hand.
Head, shoulders, knees, toes, legs, waist, chin, nose. Head, shoulders, legs, waist, chin, nose.
And freeze. Where are you?
Here I am.
Are you ready?
You bet.
How you doing?
Better and better.
Give yourself a hand. Where are you?
Here I am.
Are you ready?
You bet.
How you doing?
Better and better.
Give yourself a hand.
Head, shoulders, knees, toes, legs, waist, chin, nose. Head, shoulders, knees, chin, nose.
And you freeze.
Great job, boys and girls. Thank you so much for sharing your talents. If I could have all the parents that are here tonight, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for coming out this evening and bringing your children to entertain us. Thank you very much. We'd love to have you all stay and watch us in our deliberations tonight, but we understand. We have to put them to bed. 8 o'clock comes quickly.
8 o'clock. Who gets to go to bed at 8 o'clock?
Katie Guy, who is the Ross S. Sterling High School Student Body President, is here today, and she will be presenting to the board Sterling High School's 50th anniversary celebration shirts, and the sponsor for the Sterling Student Council is Miss Lowry. So Katie, you want to come on up?
Hi, good evening. My name's Katie Guy, and I'm the student body president at Sterling High School, and I'm just really honored to be a part of this awesome year. So on behalf of the student body at Sterling High School, I would like to invite you to our school's 50th anniversary celebration. The celebration will begin with a program and reception Friday, October 7th at the school from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. There will be the Cheryl Evans Alumni Art Show in the alcove, volleyball alumni recognition at the 4:30 varsity game in the girls' gym, and orchestra alumni playing in the commons. The program will begin at 4 in the auditorium, and after the program, we will have cake and punch in the commons, so there's one reason to come. You will be able to walk through the halls, look at decorations, pictures, and yearbooks. At 6:30, we invite you to our pregame festivities, where we will announce our 50th year homecoming queen. Star alumni will be able to participate in Victory Line, and cheer alumni will be able to participate in cheer introductions. At halftime, if you have on the Ross S. Sterling, this shirt, the 50th anniversary shirt, you can be a part of the halftime celebration. You will help to make a big 5 and 0 on the field for an overhead picture. We will also recognize the former homecoming queens. We hope you plan to attend our 50th celebration at Ross S. Sterling High School. And at this time, I'd like to present the board with a 50th anniversary shirt. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Katie.
Katie, I had a question. How many of the 50 homecoming queens do you intend will be here? Do we have confirmation yet of the 50
Still
homecoming queens?
Still working.
A work in progress.
You never know.
Okay, just checking.
Oh, if any of these are the wrong size, y'all can email Miss Lowry or Miss Stark, and they'll give you another one.
Miss Lowry, I have a question for you. 3 cases again? It's apple time.
No, he
said
sits
it right.
here.
Three cases again?
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Thank you. I'll put you down.
Thank you.
That was wrong.
Thank you.
I was going to contact her anyway. Mr. Poppy would be right here. Can you get Mr. Poppy?
You ain't lying.
Okay.
Damn nasty. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Laredo, you need to wear this shirt properly now.
That's right. You gotta wear that.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Laredo, these are the
He's like
50th
the one she's
anniversary
wearing.
shirts of Sterling High School. I know you're looking forward to wearing that.
I am proud of all the schools in
Thank you.
in our school district, Mr.
Thank you,
Richard.
Katie.
I'm celebrating right now. A little bit early. I'm wearing blue today, Mr. Richard.
Please make note that Mr. Laredo showed up at 6:45. Thank you.
So ExxonMobil has provided a donation in the amount of $15,000. The funds will be used for the Goose Creek CISD and ExxonMobil Partners in Education program. An amount of $2,500 will be allocated for each of the following campuses: Travis Elementary, Victoria Walker Elementary, San Jacinto Elementary, Lee High School, Baytown Junior School, and Cedar Bayou Junior School. Connie Tilton, the Public Affairs Advisor, is here representing ExxonMobil. Here she is. She didn't want to take a picture. Do you guys want to take a picture, or do we let her off the hook?
She who writes the check.
Thank you, Connie, for coming. For the second consecutive year, the Goose Creek CISD Special Education Department has collaborated with the City of Baytown to offer special needs nights at the Pirates Bay Water Park. Dr. Tom Kelchner, Special Ed Director, will discuss these events.
Thank you, Dr. Duarte. Mr. Richard, trustees, Mr. O'Brien, we're very pleased to recognize our partners at the city. We're very blessed, as we all know, in our community with such great collaborations and great partners. I'd like to invite Mr. Mike Flynn, the manager from the City of Baytown Pirates Bay Water Park, up to the podium, as well as Miss Megan Dickey, one of my coordinators. Mike, along with Scott Johnson from Park and Recreation, Nick Woolbury from the city. As a team, Megan, if you want to come on over here. Ms. Dickey was instrumental from the district side, along with several other of our staff members, in assisting with volunteers and so forth to put this together. This idea originated during a planning session for our Inclusive Park project. And a parent simply said to several of us, including city representatives, can we talk about access to our water parks for our special needs students? And that's how this idea originated, from one comment from a parent. The city, as always, has been absolutely wonderful in working with us. We started this by establishing 3 nights during the summer of 2015. During that summer, over 3 nights, we had over 1,593 special needs kids and their families participate. What started out as a great idea for Goose Creek became truly a community and regional event, as we had 34 different school districts represented over the course of those nights. This past summer, while we had 3 nights planned, we actually were able to present 1.5. One was entirely rained out, and we had lightning, so we had about a half a night. But in 1.5 nights, we had over 1,600 participants. So, yes, absolutely. In addition, because of the efforts of the City Parks and Recreation, the City Parks and Recreation Department received the Lone Star Programming Award from the Texas Recreation and Park Society. So we are very, very proud of this collaboration with the city. It is a great blessing to all of our families and all of our special needs students. So we want to thank everyone from the city, and particularly Mr. Flynn, our manager from Pirates Bay.
While they're taking pictures, if I may, I do want to say that I'm on the Parks and Rec board for the city, and I know that Mr. Flynn being there has talked a lot about this program and how wonderful it is, and I think it's a real blessing that we have this collaboration between the city and the school district, and I really like to thank Dr. Kelchner and Mr. Flynn and all the staff for making this a great event for all of our kids. Thank you so much, guys.
The student recognition for tonight is the Scholar Athlete Award, which is presented to athletes who are involved in varsity sports, demonstrate leadership and/or exemplary performance in team athletics and in the classroom, as well as participate in community service. Athletic Director Coach Mulvaney will be recognizing these students for the month of September.
Thank you, Dr. Duarte. President Richard, Board of Trustees, Mr. O'Brien, it is my honor and my privilege to talk about our September Scholar Athletes. Our first Scholar Athlete from Robert E. Lee High School is a football player. His name is Daniel Sanchez. Daniel, will you come on up here, please? Let's give him a round of applause, yeah. Daniel is under the direction of Coach David Wilkinson, who's also here. Coach Wilkinson, give a wave. There you go. Thank you. And Principal Dr. Joe Farnsworth. Daniel, a senior, is ranked in the top 15% of his class. He is involved in many extracurricular activities besides football. He marches in the Robert E. Lee Band and is in the Symphonic Band for the past 3 years. He's on the Student Council Leadership Council. He's also a member of the Interact Club and a volunteer for the Star of Hope. Coach Wilkinson states, Daniel is a well-rounded and wonderful young man. He embodies everything about being a student athlete. He is poised and a mature leader for many organizations at Robert E. Lee High School. He is a joy to coach, and I am glad that he is a part of my day. Daniel Sanchez from Robert E. Lee High School. Our next September Scholar athlete is Casey Benskin. Casey, come on down. Yep, give her a round of applause, too. Casey is under the direction of Coach Candace Southall. Coach Southall, wave, stand. Come on, it's all right. Don't be bashful. Come on up. And also Principal Nathan Chaddock. Casey, a junior, is ranked, wait for this, ladies and gentlemen, number 6 in a class of 553. Casey is also involved in peer assistance and leadership, also known as PALS, Student Council, and the Missouri Street Church of Christ. Coach Southall expressed, Casey strives to always give her all, displays a positive attitude, and is very hardworking. Casey is very coachable, dependable, and receptive to correction, always desiring improvement. She is an ideal athlete. Casey Benskin, volleyball, Ross S. Sterling.
And with the parents of the two athletes, if you're present tonight, please stand and be recognized. All right, next item of business is citizens' participation. Do we have anybody, Ms. Garcia, that's registered? Nobody? Moving on to item number 5, approval of minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of the September 12th regular board meeting.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Coffey, a second from Ms. Woods to accept the minutes as presented from September 12th, 2016. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? That motion passes 5-4. 2 absent. Next, we move to item 6, discussion items. We have 3 superintendent's reports. Mr. O'Brien.
Yes, I'd like to invite first Dr. Kelchner up for the video and audio surveillance in special education classrooms presentation, followed by the GCCISD Special Education Services for Residential Facilities. Mr. Matt Flood will be joining him.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Mr. Richard, trustees, we appreciate the opportunity to bring you up to date on a very serious issue facing all of our public school districts in the state of Texas and all of our special education programs. Recently, Texas Education Code 29.022 required school districts and open enrollment charters to place, operate, and maintain cameras and audio recording devices in certain special education settings. This is an unfunded mandate that's required, yes, unfunded, that upon the request of a parent, a trustee, or a staff member, we are required to first consider, but required to place cameras for video and audio recording devices in special ed classrooms. This obviously has very serious implications for us. We want to summarize the requirements and the operating guidelines, starting with the definitions. First of all, obviously a parent, and that a parent being defined as someone with parental rights, but also it includes 18-year-old or older students. In special education, of course, we serve through the ages of 21 or 22. So there is potentially some impact from that group. A staff member is defined as those positions listed. Obviously the teacher, a related service provider that may be an occupational therapist, a physical therapist working in that setting, the paraprofessional. It includes the principal, the assistant principal at the campus. Within this narrow definition, it does not include anyone outside the classroom or the campus. other than trustees. So parents, 18-year-old plus students, staff members attached to that classroom or the campus, or a trustee may make the request for cameras in the classroom. Excuse me. This applies to self-contained settings in special education. That is defined as where we have students who are in a self-contained setting 50% or more of the instructional day. That's primarily going to apply to more of our low incidence populations, and we'll discuss that in a moment more specifically. But that is related to instructional arrangements. So students who, again, may be in a classroom for up to 60%, we have relatively few that actually are at 100%, but it would apply to those sorts of settings. I included under the law other special education setting as well, because we have a residential facility that we're going to talk about in the next presentation, which does fall under our district requirements should we get a request. Our process, and we have full operating guidelines that have been vetted with our legal counsel, of course, that are in place. And when we have a request that goes through the principal and through myself as Director of Special Education, we will give a written response to the requester within 10 business days. Installation, which we work closely, of course, with TMS and Mr. Flood's group, that has to occur, quote unquote, within a reasonable period of time without undue delay. Once we have that equipment in place in said classroom, we have 5 business days before we turn the equipment on, before we hit the button, because we have to notify every other parent of every other child in that classroom that video and audio surveillance is occurring. The notice must be posted at the entrance, and all campus staff must receive notice. So there are items in place. Please note also that when we talk about video and audio, the law requires that the classroom proper have both video and audio capability. However, changing areas, such as we have in our life skills classrooms and internal restrooms within those classrooms, also must be covered, but only by audio recording. We want to emphasize several points. Under the law, under our operating guidelines, this surveillance is not live. There will be no one sitting at a monitor reviewing what's going on in a particular classroom. Video and audio recordings are stored. We have to maintain them through Mr. Flood's department for a period of at least 6 months. We also want to emphasize that the recordings shall not be used for teacher or staff evaluation. So they're not live, no one is reviewing them on a continuously monitored basis of any sort, and we will never use them for any teacher or staff evaluation purposes. These requirements also apply to ESY, Extended School Year Services. So if we centralize, as we normally do, centralize ESY services at one location and we get a request, we would have to consider honoring that request during the summer. Most importantly, if we do have an incident, an alleged incident submitted to us, it goes once again through the principal and the Director of Special Education. We have internal processes in place that comply with our operating guidelines and thus the law. And that would be that myself and the Director of Student Services, the campus principal, another administrator trained in de-escalation techniques, because often the incident may relate to some type of restraint, as well as other appropriate staff. Other appropriate staff will depend on the particular allegation. It may include nurses, it may include peace officers, it might include CPS, depending on the particular situation. At that point, after we've done the internal investigation, we will provide a written response to the parent. If we determine as an internal team that there is a need for district action, a personnel action, that will be determined by the investigation, and action determined by Human Resources in conjunction with the superintendent. I'm very proud of the support we have through Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Flood in us being ahead of the curve in this whole project. We looked at a number of different scenarios on how we might implement an unfunded mandate. A side note, federal funds, IDEA B, special ed funds may not be used to put cameras or video or audio recordings in the classroom. And so after looking at different scenarios, excuse me, we did allocate in the local budget $250,000 for camera and video installations. And after reviewing where we feel the most benefit would occur in, again, being ahead of the curve, we have 43 self-contained classroom settings, PPCD, SILK is our autism program, and our life skills classrooms. While there will be some variance, and I'll let Mr. Flood speak to this, we're figuring the average cost per classroom at approximately $5,000 for installation when we, as we go through this project. So I want to give one other caveat, and there is a recent Attorney General's opinion that came within the last week and a half that may impact all of this. And that attorneys, while this is our requirement is to respond to request on a case-by-case basis. We are ahead of the curve by going out and saying that we're going to outfit these classrooms. The Attorney General's opinion, however, indicates that they are questioning whether one parent request actually triggers a district-wide response. In other words, if one request comes in from one parent for one life skills program, the Attorney General is construing that as possibly indicating that we would have to outfit every life skills classroom. That is, after consulting with our attorneys, we felt that the direction we're taking at this point with these contingency funds and the fact that we're outfitting 43 classrooms ahead of the game, puts us ahead of the game. We felt that this puts us in a very appropriate position at this point based on the current regulations. So at this point, if I may clarify or answer any questions.
I have one question, Dr. Kelchner.
Yes, sir.
If a report is received and there's video and it goes back to the director of special ed, student services, principal, other administrative trained will review the footage, is the parent allowed to review the footage?
Yes, sir. Under current code, the parent does have the right to review the footage. We do not have to release the footage. Okay. However, the parent does have the right to sit with us to review it. Under
any situation, can you foresee a public outcry that would say, release the footage, we want to see, like we see in the news every day now? No. Are we protected enough by the legislature that we can say, we're not required to do that, and we don't think it's in the best interest of the school district?
I believe so. I think we're protected, and I think your point's very well taken in light of current circumstances in the country. We are very, very conscious of that, and in speaking with all of our internal team, we've discussed that. But number one, we would not release, as we don't release a bus video, for example, under our policy. The current code and policy is clear that we do not have to release it. So I definitely would think that we would be protected, and thus protecting other students and other parents in that regard.
Under our policy regarding FERPA?
FERPA, as well as the current operating guidelines under this code, for this code.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I don't think Dr. Kelchner gets to leave, though, right?
Right. He's batter up.
Again, Mr. Richard, trustees, Mr. O'Brien, I'd like to bring to the table with me Mr. Charles Hurst. I'm very pleased to present our executive director for the Hands of Healing Residential Treatment Facility here in Baytown. And we're very pleased to have an opportunity to do this presentation that Mr. Hurst and his staff provide a very, very needed service for at-risk youth. And it does impact our district because they are our children. And we wanted to make sure that everyone really understood the ramifications of all that we do. Hands of Healing Residential Treatment Center was established here in March of 2010 here in Baytown. It is actually on the backside of the Carver Elementary property. And it is an accredited institution, accredited by Texas Family and Protective Services, which means that all of the young people, the males who live there, have been removed from their families by CPS for varying levels of abuse. So again, what Mr. Hurst and his team do are take care of children that really have gone through more than any of us can imagine in their lives. We had one student 2 or 3 years ago, a 7th grader. By the time he came to Mr. Hurst's facility in our district, he had been in 34 different foster placements. Mr. Hurst has 25 beds. We serve only male students. They're both regular and special ed, all at risk. The way we've structured it, we serve students at any Goose Creek campus as per their needs. Excuse me. Those who are eligible for special ed services, we treat them as we would any other special ed student or intake in our district. We provide placements as determined by our art committees. However, one of the things we want to note that is a great opportunity for us, we do operate a residential facility classroom at Hands of Healing. So we do have, of those special ed students, we do have several who their needs are so intense that we feel that it's in their best interest to serve them temporarily, some long-term, at the Hands of Healing facility. So we do have Mr. Hurst set up a building, and we do have a Goose Creek special education teacher and a Goose Creek paraprofessional who serve students at that facility. Our goal is, of course, to get those kids mainstream back to comprehensive campuses, but this provides a setting for them as an interim placement. It is a self-contained setting, so as I noted in the previous presentation, should we get a request for camera, for video and audio surveillance, the residential facility, that because we operate that classroom, it falls under the provisions of code. As I said, it's utilized as interim or long-term setting. We have 23 or 25 students there right now being served at, and let me ask Mr. Hurst to make any comment he'd like about the facility and what we're doing with it as a district.
Yes, I would just like to commend Dr. Kelster and his team on an awesome job. They work very diligent with Hands of Healing as it relates to our kids there, as it relates to handling any and every needs that we may have as it relates to the school district. Dr. Kelster has been instrumental in this transition for us because we are trying to meet the needs of kids. And as he said, a lot of kids come to us very traumatized. They've been through a lot of traumatic experience. And a lot of people don't understand the kids we deal with, but we do the best to try to educate the people in which we deal with in the schools and things of that nature. We may have a lot of problems, but our job is to try to educate that particular kid. As he said, one kid went through 34 homes as well as 34 schools. And so I take my hat off to this school district because I've been in a lot of school districts, and this is probably one of the best school districts that I've been in that have taken the concerns and service and able to service the needs of these kids. I don't see this school district throwing kids away, putting kids out. Dr. Kelson has made it to a point to where whatever that kid need is, he would try to make sure that kid needs are taken care of. And so I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. I was just going to ask, could you mind running down your staff just so the board would know how many employees you staff there at the facility? You have a counseling staff, I understand.
I staff too many. We have on the staff, we have a treatment staff. I have about 5 LPCs, licensed professional counselors, who meet with the kids. The kids have to receive 1 hour counseling per week. They have to receive 1 hour group counseling per week. And then I have 2 case managers. And then I have 2 case managers who handles the school things and handle all the aspects of the kids for as medical, dental, things of that nature, appointments, and whatever they need to get back into the program. I also have I have supervisory staff, and then I have direct care staff. Those are the people that's on the front line. Those are the people that have to deal with the behaviors day in and day out. And so I staff right at about 30 staff.
Okay, thank you.
What
You
are
know-
the age ranges of the boys?
From 9 to 17.
And I wanted to say also, if I may, this has been a team effort on the part of the district in collaboration with Hands of Healing. While we have regular ed students, our 504 services are also impacted. We work closely with Araceli De La Cruz, our Director of Student Services, Patricia Pena, our Coordinator of Health Services. So it's been truly a district collaboration to support all of our students from Hands of Healing. We appreciate the opportunity to give this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please let the record show that Mr. Poppy arrived at 7:09.
Our next superintendent report is on the agricultural science facility. We'll have Brenda Garcia, along with members of our architectural firm selected, Stantec. I'll let you introduce
Yes.
them.
Good evening. Laura, I may have you say your last name. I'm sorry. Laura Socklaven. And this is Ben Salceda.
Mr. Richard, members of the board, and Superintendent O'Brien. First, I want to start by thanking you for the opportunity to be a part of this project. We're excited to be here and thrilled to have been able to work with your staff and with the end users of the facility to come up with the design that we're going to show you tonight. So the first thing we did when we started the project was take a look at the site and do just a high-level analysis of the site and the parameters associated with that. So this is our site. You've got the existing ag facility that you can see there on the corner. We're actually on the corner of East Wallaceville Road and John Martin Road. The existing metal building that is there now is going to remain and be incorporated into the design of the expansion. One of the first things that we really looked at was these two roads, and what we saw is they're both about the same in traffic, so we really wanted to make sure that as we approached this, we paid attention to the identity at that corner and not just, pay attention to one direction or the other. Some of the other things that we looked at, when you're dealing with an ag facility, it's not just vehicles, you have just regular cars, you've got buses that'll be bringing students, you also have trucks and trailers, which require a lot larger turning radiuses, and one of the things we have to make sure is that we know where each of these are coming in and going around the site, so that we make sure that we keep everybody safe. One of the things we looked at is maintaining the drive that is currently existing on the site today. Number one, to save costs, but also we think it's a good location on the site. The other thing we look at when you're doing an ag science facility, most of this is going to be non-air conditioned. So the only portion that's going to have HVAC is going to be that classroom area that's in the existing building that we're going to convert. So we really need to make sure that we look at solar orientation and that we look at the prevailing winds of the site. So most of our prevailing winds in this area are coming from the southeast. And when we are looking at solar orientation, we want to make sure that we ran the animal pin wings in the east-west direction to make sure that we take advantage of that natural ventilation to keep those animals and all the people in the buildings in a nice environment. And then the other thing we wanted to look at is future development of this site. Obviously, we're not taking up the whole site, and we wanted to make sure that the piece that we were leaving for future development was in a shape that was going to be usable for the district for whatever you may choose to do with that site in the future. And I'm going to let Ben go through the design specifics.
As we're looking here at the image of the architectural site plan, as Laura pointed out, we have Wallaceville Road along the north, John Martin here along the west side, and our existing structure that's getting repurposed. As people come onto the site, there's drop-off capabilities here to access the classrooms that we have in the repurposed structure. We have parking along the side, and then those drives wrap around and go along the east side of the site larger one here is for hogs, lamb and goat, and cattle here on the very south side. Along the north, because of the sloping site and existing utilities that we have there already, this is our proposed location for the detention pond. We have a buffer here between us and the neighboring neighborhood, and we've maintained grazing areas here and the space for future development on the south side. This gives you a clear idea of what we're looking at site-wise. Along with the items that I just mentioned, we also have vehicular access into the existing building here for tractor storage and maintenance vehicles that we use around the site. We've provided enough space here for approximately 12 trailers to park and access those animals that I mentioned. And this drive continues along the south side of the site to allow for vehicular movement. Looking at the floor plan, here in this upper left-hand corner is our existing structure with access, of course, from the driveway. We have classrooms side by side that can be used as a shared space, possibly. We have an office, support areas, restrooms, and this is, as was mentioned earlier, the only conditioned spaces that we currently have at the facility. Here in this light blue space, this is storage for our on-site tractor or other equipment. This would be fenced in, much like what you see out on the site now. Covered walkway, canopy between the existing structure and our new facility here. In the support area, we have a practice arena, bleachers for spectators, feed storage spaces, grooming areas, restroom facilities, support spaces, IVF rooms, etc. And then coming off of that, here along the left side, this larger wing here is for our hog pens. We also have washing areas for those same animals in that wing. As we move further to the south, we have sheep and goats. And then another walkway takes us down to this larger wing here, which is for our cattle. And everything that you see here in gray and blue is under roof, and you'll notice these areas here just outside the pens. Those are open air, fenced-in turnout areas for each of the cattle. Looking at the exterior elevations, this is the view that you would see off of Wallaceville Road, our existing repurposed structure with windows facing the road for the classrooms and the office space. Our connector here to the new facility. And then over here on the far left, we have the hog wing. In general, our facility clad in a combination of split face concrete block as a sort of a lower wainscot, and then painted metal panel above that with a metal roof structure, much like what we have currently. Over here, you'll notice that looks a little bit different on the hog wing. They're more susceptible, more sensitive to temperature changes. So this wing, we would actually continue to have the concrete block along the bottom with louvers here to allow for airflow and a metal panel above that. This does a view from the south, and this, east, which shows you the access off of the parking lot into the ends of each one of these wings, and that would be metal siding that you can see there on those. And looking at this top exterior elevation, this is the view from John Martin Road, our existing facility here, with storage on the end of it. Here in the middle, you get a glimpse of the practice arena, and then the end of the cattle wing with the turnout spaces on the other side. And oh, you didn't hear that one. And with the use of Borrd per foot. And this gives you a little bit better idea of this perspective of what you're looking at. Again, this is facing that very intersection of John Martin Road and Wallsville. And existing structure, reclad, and then our new facility here on 21.
So the construction budget for this project is $4,004,000. And as you are probably aware, the construction market has been a bit unpredictable lately. It was on the rise, and now it's just kind of all over the place. So we wanted to make sure that we set everybody up for success. So this is just kind of a breakdown of how we project that this will come in. We've got about 5,000 square foot of existing structure that we won't have to put as much money into because we're going to be converting it and taking advantage of what's already there. And then new construction, we have about 22,000, which will be at a higher dollar per square foot. So at the end of the day, and based on some recent ag facilities that we have completed, we think that our target square footage should be about 27,383, which is currently that square footage would be the pieces of the plan that are not in these red boxes. So what these red boxes represent are areas, portions of the plan that we're going to design and draw, and we're going to bid them, but we're going to bid them as alternates so that we get competitive bidding to try to get as much as we can get. But if we hit a challenging time in the market, we will have fully designed these other portions and get the best bang for our buck. And so what you can see is that on this one, you would have 46 hog pens. That alternate would add another 14, 34 of the sheep and goat, with an additional 14 there. And then with the cattle, you'd have 16. And then if we can take those alternates, you'd have an additional 8. And then just some other items that we're also going to do as alternates is CMU block walls in between these hog pens. That was a request. Obviously, there's a little bit more of expensive construction, so we want to see if we can get it, but I have a backup plan just in case. And then at the site, this is something that is very typical when we do these facilities, is looking at the portion of the paving that is surrounded in red here. We would look at doing that in gravel with a concrete perimeter. And then, of course, if we can afford it, then we would look at doing all that in concrete. So just giving you guys some options, and again, being able to get competitive pricing on all those options. And that concludes the presentation. If you have any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to hold you just for a moment, and we may have questions from the board members, but I wanted to share one of the reasons you were selected. We were able to visit one of the facilities that you designed to one of our neighbors to the north in Montgomery County, and we noticed that you had some very creative solutions to existing issues, and we thought you might be able to work with an existing facility and bring us what we need. But and I do want to open the floor for you, Mr. President, but also notice we have members of our agricultural classrooms in the back here. Thank you all for coming this evening, and I'd like to invite you to ask questions as well. But I'd like to turn over to Mr. Richard first to see if there's any board members that have questions.
I really enjoyed your presentation. It was much more informative than just having Mr. O'Brien show it to me last Wednesday, because you answered a lot of the questions that I had for you. But I have a theoretical question. What do you think the chance is that the entire project with the alternates, is that the right term?
Yes, inclusive.
Included will come in at our budget at the 4-point.
Crystal ball that I have.
Crystal ball. I know, I'm not holding you to it,
Yeah.
but theoretically, what's the chance of us getting all of this?
It can happen. So I will tell you that the two recent ones that we looked at to help come up with our dollar per square foot that we kind of started with was the New Katy Ag Science Center and then one in Alvin. Alvin, they hit on a good day and were able to take all the alternates that they wanted. New Katy was able to take some of them, but not all of them. And so it just depends on the day. But Typically, you're able to at least accept a few of those.
That 157 is about, is that the Utopia price that they got it? Did you say New Caney got a good deal or Alvin?
Alvin got a good deal.
Did they get it at 157 or below?
They actually were just a little bit less, but there's some things on theirs that are different. So they, design-wise, there can be a wide range just by what you do with each of the pins, and the needs of every program are very different. So, you know, they were able to put more into having all concrete drives, but maybe they did a little less in the pin areas. So.
And were you guys able to work with some of our ag teachers in the district to put this together? I see one out there. But,
No, several.
Mr. Rogers, do you want to talk about it? Yeah, I'll put you on the spot.
I guess Ms. Dillon and I got to visit with the architects last week, 2 weeks ago, and I did request some things about the hall.
You wanted the CMU walls in the hog pen, didn't you?
Well,
He's a hog guy.
I'm not really my other guys really take care of the hogs, but disease when it gets into a system like that can be real rampant. So we kind of like the cinder block idea of really keeping the pigs, because they're real common about nosing each other if they can. So we thought that we came up with some designs we thought would work to keep those hogs away from each other. I really like the plan and the layout. I think it's going to be with a classroom, with a show, with a practice ring, and all of the pins. I believe it's enough growth, and I think if we can move on and maybe offer some classes out there, it'll even get better. We know we're growing, and we have more neighborhoods and less pets to keep these animals, and our programs are growing rapidly. So we're getting kids that want to do it. It's just real hard for transportation, where it's, you know, I mean, and if you have a facility, we were completely full in the hog pens last year, and our enrollment's up this year, so we're looking at, you know, the last thing I hate to do is to tell a kid no because we don't have enough space. So, I mean, but there is a possibility of that, and we have some kind of ways to try to make sure that everybody gets a fair shot at getting in.
So in summary, get started.
Patience.
Brittany's been in the barn for 3 years, and it gets crowded, and you know, we think that between what the architects brought to the table and what we've been discussing, that we have enough room for expansion, and we have enough room to really get going now and really build it, and obviously, hopefully, you know, we can move some practical classes out there where kids can actually get some on-site work in this kind of business.
So I didn't notice any cross fencing in the design for the open pasture. Is that a desire of yours, or you'd rather leave it open, or?
We would like to do that, because at one point in time, if it goes good and we have practicum, and Ms. Dillon and I discussed this back some time ago, but we can do all kinds of experiments out there. I mean, we can grow certain kind of hays.
Okay.
You know, if we have kids out there, they can experience that. You know, there's a ton of things, and if we cross fence it, you know, maybe there's a possibility of buying some cattle. You know, not a whole bunch, but you know, 4 or 5. You know, and teach kids grazing methods, and you know, you just have to have the space. You know, you have to have the space and the ability to do it.
Thank you, Kenny.
I have a question about this location. Obviously, we have our ag there now. This is a really bad intersection. I get calls all the time. Have we approached the county at all with any of this, showing them the growth and the expansion that we're expecting to try and figure out traffic solutions, patterns. There's accidents at that corner all the time. And it's even more heavily traveled. As a matter of fact, today I drove through there and plan to call the county to ask them when the next traffic study is going to be at that intersection.
They've already planned on possibly putting a signal light right there because of all of the wrecks with the left turn lane and everything.
Well, usually the response I get, Howard, is the dog leg. They can't do a traffic light there. But even at this particular intersection.
Well, I think they're trying to do the light at John Martin.
John Martin and Wallaceville, which is where it needs to be. And I didn't know if we were pressing the county to move forward.
Would that be a question for the architects or something that we would have to do internally?
I don't know. That's kind of.
I think we would probably have to do that internally.
Brenda. The question was to Brenda.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You
well,
were looking, I thought you were asking the architects that question.
Well, I don't know if the architects did any kind of traffic studies on it or not, but obviously when deciding where to keep the entrance to the facility, you looked at that some. But as moving forward with this, I think that
they've had some communication with the county, but really the civil engineer and regarding the site, not specifically the traffic at the location.
Well, it's just going to get worse.
Definitely look into that.
There's no entrance on Wallaceville. It's all on
Correct.
John Martin.
Correct.
Yes.
So you were probably about maybe 200, 300 feet from the intersection of Wallaceville and somewhere up in there? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, you have enough space right there, but there is a possibility that's looming, and I would have to check into it deep, that a light will be put at John Martin.
Yeah, well, I think it would be extremely important for us to encourage the county to move forward with that as we move forward with this.
Well, and like I said, it's moving, you know, so, but where it is in the end run, I don't know, because I know that it was brought up because of the accidents that were there.
It's just it's a high trafficked area. There are auto accidents there weekly.
Yeah.
Weekly.
But.
And as an area, we're encouraging our students to come to for something. I think that we're responsible for pushing that forward too.
Mr. Richard, another of our instructors had a comment.
We have a comment, instructor?
I have a curiosity question. I have a couple, but my main one is, y'all go to start clearing out trees and everything to start developing, building pads, and starting and stuff. Y'all are going to straight up clear cut everything, right? Because there's a lot of tree cover vegetation. I actually personally trained a wildlife team this last semester. We used quite a bit of that for actual plant identification purposes and stuff. I know we got clear cut quite a bit. We're not going to straight up clear all of it, are we?
No, not all of the property.
No. And
Needing to do a buffer along the houses.
buffer, we want to keep this buffer
Right.
and all this down here. We want to have a minimal impact there. So the only thing that will impact that is any grading that we have to do around the building to get it to the finish where it needs to be. But we will try to do as much as we can. Not being able to.
We didn't hear that, if you can repeat.
So you asking about while it's under construction, where will animals be? We have not gotten into a phasing conversation, but I think that's something we'll need to do with this existing building. But I would imagine if it's important to keep animals here, that we could potentially phase.
Yeah, we just have not discussed the logistics of that at this time.
I think it's important to get the date of the shows and the fairs and things of that nature, and you do have a time schedule, I think.
And we've been working with CTE director
So
as well.
just align that to where it coincides.
Yes.
One other question. I know that the classroom is going to be air conditioned. And
Yes.
we're talking about an east prevailing wind, I guess.
Southeast.
Southeast.
Mm-hmm.
But, knowing animals and under a shed, that it's going to get pretty hot in Texas under a shed. Is there any provision for any type of blower fans or anything to keep the air moving underneath?
Yes, I'll let Laura explain that.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. So these little spunky stars you see
Yeah.
around, those are actually big fans. So they're called high velocity or something fans. So they actually are quite large, and they are in every single one of these animal areas. You'll also see that they are in this arena area over where the bleachers are to keep air moving.
Yeah.
The other thing that will be included is there's going to be a lot of power throughout these animal pen areas.
Right.
So that if there is a need to bring in additional fans to blow across the animals, that can be done as well.
You know, they will pass out real fast.
Have we addressed heat in the winter?
So the heat, where, as Ben mentioned earlier, the hog pens, the hogs are the ones that are the most susceptible to the cold and to the heat. So as he shows you, we've got the ability to really shut this thing down. So close the louvers, you've got the block walls, and you've got metal panel above, and then we'll have heaters that are in, area heaters that are in that wing as well.
Anything else?
Out there you do. Okay.
Questions from the audience?
Mr. O'Brien opened it to you.
Yes, sir, you have a question? Sir?
Sorry. My first question, right now in the current facility, we have a large bird problem. And as you know, with birds comes fecal matter, that fecal matter is disease and so on, especially once those animals start inhaling the dust or inhaling that fecal matter gets in food. Is there any type of screening, anything like that, where they're going to put up around the outside of the barn designed in, probably keep the birds out?
There is, and so I don't have any images or pictures of it, but what we do, we have a detail that we've done in the other facilities, is anywhere there's a ledge for a bird is where birds are going to be. And typically these are metal buildings, so the structure is where they all tend to roost. We actually wrap each of the beams in those structures where the ledge is with metal panel, so that there's no place for the birds to be. And then the recent facilities that we've done, the birds were a major concern in their older facilities, and they have no issues. So that's a very important conversation, and it is something that we're taking.
My other question, I know in a lot of facilities, not just the one that we currently have, but the other ones I've been in, a big problem is when you start putting maybe two blowers or a blower and a big fan in one outlet, it overpowers that breaker. You don't have maybe larger breakers, or just more breakers planned in there to help prevent that overload on the circuits and electricity?
Yes, so from day one, there's going to be a lot of circuits and a lot of load built into this. I think a lot of the challenges that you have seen are when you're trying to retroactively come into a facility and plug all these things in and it's not set up for it. We are going to have lots of power and lots of water throughout this, so that there shouldn't be any overloading.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask our ag teachers that are here tonight that have concerns. I would ask you to call your colleagues at the two facilities that they've recently put together and ask them about those issues if they had them before, and has this design cleared that up. And if it hasn't, then bring them to Ms. Dillon and let Ms. Dillon work with the architects on those concerns.
I'd like to thank the ag teachers and our students for being here tonight in support of this project, though. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you. Anything else, board? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next item on our agenda, we move to action items, the consent agenda.
For our consent agenda this evening, we have number 1, resolution amending the school district's authorized representatives to the Texas Local Government Investment Pool, TexPool Prime, a public funds investment pool. Number 2, adoption of resolution determining eligibility of ExxonMobil Corporation 242 for tax credit and approved request for additional state aid for ad valorem tax credit. Number 3, donation from ExxonMobil. Number 4, schematic design phase as submitted by Stantec Architecture, Inc. for the construction of the Agri-Science Center expansion and renovation. Number 5, TASB Localized Policy Update 106. Number 6, Engagement Letter with Walsh, Gallegos, Trevino, Russo, and Kyle, PC. Number 7, Budget Amendments.
Board, does anyone want to pull any of these 7 consent agenda items for individual consideration? Number 6 will be pulled. Anybody else?
I may be able to answer that if need be.
Let's just pull it.
Okay.
Move forward. Okay. Any others? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on 1 through 5 and 7.
I move to approve items 1 through 5 and 7.
Second?
Thank you. We have a motion from Ms. Coffey, a second from Mr. Laredo to approve consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of approval, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-4, 1 absent. Now on to number 6, engagement letter with Walsh. Questions from Mr. Poppy?
I just want to know why don't we already have an agreement with them? Why
This
do we
is a
have
renewal.
A renewal?
Yeah. We have to annually engage. It's renewing the right to engage with them.
Okay. I just take it as administration's recommendation to use this firm?
Yes, it is. We have diversified our use of these firms. This is the firm we use for human resources.
Okay.
We've engaged with other attorneys for other departments.
Any other comments?
Move for approval?
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Laredo, a second from Ms. Coffey to approve consent agenda item number 6. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-4, 1 against, 1 absent. Okay. Board, future agenda items from Mr. O'Brien. Future board agenda items that you would like to discuss. I will say that on the next board agenda, I'm asking Mr. O'Brien to bring forward a recommendation from administration on whether or not we would proceed with the application to become a district of innovation. I attended a session last week. Mr. O'Brien has talked with us previously in detail, and I feel that if it's something we want to consider, we need to put it as an agenda item to discuss and vote on whether or not we want to proceed down that road. So that's going to be on the next agenda.
Would it be possible to be on the meeting afterwards?
That would put us,
I mean, I don't
like late October, and my understanding I don't know if we could get it done by January 1st with our meetings that we're not having in November and December, if we don't start moving forward on it. Because if we wait until the last meeting of October to approve, that means the administrative staff only has about 3 weeks before Thanksgiving and 3 before Christmas holiday, 6 weeks to put the whole package together, and us to follow through with all the requirements that it's going to take to get it back to the board for final action.
So are we just discussing whether we want to go forward with
Yes, that's all we're doing.
So I didn't know if that was the question. Did you want to be able to have the information brought to you and vote on it the same night? To expedite it? Was that the question, Mr. Poppy? I was trying to understand.
No, I wasn't sure if we'll be able to make the next meeting. So I definitely wanted.
Right.
I mean, I fully support it. I'm excited about it, but I would like to be here when we talk about it. So
Okay.
I just may not. I don't know what I don't know the schedule of your staff, if they will be here the next meeting as well. So.
And yes, Ms. Laredo, it's just whether or not we want to vote to move forward with the application or not. That's all it's about.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a final, we can't approve anything. It's got to go through committee process and public input and public hearings before we could do anything anyway. Okay. Anything else?
Just moving on with board training, just a reminder, we do have Team of 8 with Dr. McLeod coming on October 26th from 6:30 to 9.
She was at, incidentally, she was at the,
Tasby?
she was, and I saw her Friday night on her way to dinner. She was at the same place. So she was pretty excited. Got to talk to her and went to actually to a session by her sister and went to another session with her. So she's a really great person.
Okay, moving forward, we now need to move into closed meeting. The board will now recess into a closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. I'll just read them all. I know we're just doing personnel. Pursuant to the Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.072, 551.073, 551.074, 551.075, 551.076, 551.082, 551.083, 551.084, and 551.087. No action will be taken while the board is in closed meeting. I couldn't find the one that says discuss personnel. I'm off record. Which one is it? 474. Oh, wow. All I saw was dismissal then, and that's not what we were considering. Okay. Bring your manila folder.
Melissa won't be here that night. Melissa won't be here that night. She'll be the one presenting. I was trying to give him a chance to know what his staff is doing. Yeah. So, yeah, we want to pursue it. I'm not going to have final approval. Final approval. This is just to go forward. And the moment I can forward when
Oh, this one. I see what you're saying.
January, whenever we get to that point, you'll need
It actually said 2/3 majority. Session. No action was taken while the board was in closed session. Next item on our agenda, E, consideration of personnel action.
At this time, administration recommends approving the elections and accept the resignations.
I move we approve the elections and accept the resignation.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Coffey, a second from Mr. Laredo, that we approve elections and accept resignations as presented to us under separate cover. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-4, 1 absent.
And next, administration recommends administrative election of an elementary principal, Ms. Teresa Keel.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion from Mr. Mr. Laredo, second from Ms. Coffey, that we approve Teresa Keel as the new principal at De Zavala Elementary School. Any discussion? All in favor signify by, I'm sorry? Oh, discussion. Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-4, 1 absent. Does anybody have any more discussion or any items to discuss tonight? If not, it is 8:18. We are adjourned. Do you know they actually talk?